How's it going? David from Comic Book Investments. So in this video, we're going to look at 5 keys that are heating up, meaning they're going up in price. Some of them breaking all-time records. Yes, and some pretty cool ones on here. I listen to what you guys say in the comments below, and so some of these are from those comments. So let's get into this. Before I do, if you haven't hit the subscribe button, please do that, or the like button. All right. Hulk 102, a 7.0 is up 15% from 310 to 358. A 9.0 is up 11% from 810 to 900. And a 9.8 sold for an all-time record of 10,800. And it used to sell about, last one sold about 5,500 a year ago, and that is up 96%. So this was the start of the Hulk series. For all of you that don't know, they came out with Hulk 1 through 6 originally, and sales were not very good. But it takes a while for back in the day for the sales to show up, how many were sold, because back then how they did comics was they would ship them to the newsstands and things like that, and then they would try to sell them, and then the ones that they didn't sell, you were able to rip off the top label. They're called remainder copies, and just send back in the label, and they would refund that store. So they really didn't know how well things sold till months later. So Hulk didn't sell very well, so they canceled it. He later then went to Tales to Astonish, and then started gaining popularity, and then switched over to back to his own series with 102. So there's a long gap. It goes 1 through 6, and then starts at 102 again. So this is origin story all over again. This is a really cool cover. It's been homaged tons and tons of times. And yeah, I mean, this is a really good book in Hulk run. So yeah, I'm not surprised here. Next, we got Detective Comics 66. A 1.0 is up 30% from 4,605 back in 2020, now selling for 6,000. A 5.5 is up 40% from 7,300, now selling for 10,200. And an 8.5 is up 339%, selling for about 7,100. The last one sold was back in 2013. One just sold for a record of 31,200. Yeah, so this is the first appearance of Two-Face. He's not on the cover anywhere or anything like that. I think his first cover appearance was a little bit later in Detective 68, I believe. But anyways, this first Two-Face, great villain. As you can see, they don't sell that often. There's not that many of them out there. The old golden age like this stuff is always super rare and super sought after. When people get them, they really don't want to get rid of them at all. So they rarely come up for sale. So that's why books like these will always hold their value a lot better than, say, like a modern comic book. Next, we got Shock Suspense Stories number 6. A 7.5 is up 3% from 3,500 to 3,600. An 8.0 is up 58% from 3,350 back in 2021 to now selling for 5,280. And a 9.8 hit an all-time record of 28,800. The previous one sold was back in 2021 for 25,400. This book is actually, for Shock Suspense, this is actually pretty high up there. Like, a lot of people like this book. It's always really expensive. It's a cool cover. I mean, I like it. Some people out there, you guys wanted to see some more horror stuff, some Golden Age horror. So this is a Golden Age horror book that's up here. Yeah, I mean, there's really not much to say about this. There's no real like first appearances. This a cover that a lot of people like. That's how it usually goes with horror books. In the Golden Age, it's all about that really cool cover. There's tons of them out there. I did a whole video on all that kind of stuff. But this is, this is on a high end list, definitely in like the top 100 Golden Age covers for horror. But yeah. Next, we got Batman 232. This is the first appearance of Ra's al Ghul and Neil Adams cover. A 4.5 is up 38% from 236 to 325. A 7.5 is up 28% from 800 to 1020. And a 9.8 is up from 7,700 back in September. One just sold for 13,200. That is up 71% just in a few short months. Nearly doubled. Now, this is not an all-time record. No, not even close. I think the all-time record is up in around the 20,000 mark. But one did sell in September, 77, and then one just sold for 13. So that's pretty good. Yeah, I mean, this is Ra's al Ghul. Definitely a key villain in for Batman. And then also it's a Neil Adams cover. I've been showcasing a lot of Neil Adams covers. There's a reason for that. I think Neil Adams Batman covers are very good long-term investments. They won't be the flashiest in terms of like all of a sudden you're going to have one and it's like $100 and then a few months later it's like $300. You're not going to, it's going to get steady growth over time. At least that's what I believe. And if they're this highly desired is the Neil Adams Batman stuff. Last on this list, we got Reform Schoolgirl. There's no number. That's what NN always stands for. A 2.0 back in 2011 sold for $900. Now one selling for $28.80. That is up 220%. A 3.0 is up 28% from about $3,000 to $38.40. And then an 8.0 last year sold for a little over $20,000. One just currently sold for $21,600. That is up 6%. So this book was very singled out during Dr. Wortham's, crusade against comics, when the Comics Code Authority and all that stuff started. I did a whole video on it. Maybe I'll link it around here somewhere. But basically, Dr. Wortham went into, in front of the committee and basically said that comics are terrible for kids and they rot their brains and they cause them to murder and steal and all that kind of stuff. So he singled this one out and saying like this is in bad taste. He singled a lot of them out, but this one in particular he singled out pretty hard, saying like this is terrible. Kids shouldn't read this because kids read comics. There wasn't really much adults like there is today. More so adults read comics than kids. So this one was singled out, and then through that later he created the Comics Code Authority, which basically scared off advertisers. I mean, we see that today, going on with social media and all that kind of stuff, and even on YouTube, things like that. Advertisers get scared away, so they came up with this comics code, and basically every comic that you made, you had to send it to the Comics Code Authority, which was just a group of people that would look at it and go, get rid of this, get rid of that, get rid of that, that can stay, but redraw that, things like that, all sorts of stuff. And then they would get the art back and the pages back. And then if it was approved, they can sell it. They put a little seal on it up above on the comic somewhere. And then advertisers felt okay advertising with that. The only comics that really didn't have the approval were something like Disney comic books through like Dell or Gold Key, something like that. They usually didn't have it because advertisers already trusted Disney because Disney's like wholesome. But a lot of comics just disappeared off the face of the planet. Publishers went out of business, and a lot of comics became very campy and kind of like more kiddish and didn't really have very good stories, things like that because of that. But the Comics Code Authority eventually went away over time after they got more and more lenient because comic artists and writers were pushing back a little more and more. So yeah, but this one was singled out. It's super rare. You're not going to see these come up very often, like maybe 2 or 3 a year at the most. And yeah, they're going to command quite a bit of money. Have a good weekend.